What's up, guys? In today's episode, we are going to use the AWS CLI with the Makefile, or actually GNU Make, to deploy the Lambda function. And the Lambda function here is based on Python runtime. So it would be a very simple scenario. If you look here, it's just we have almost an empty directory without anything else except the basic Lambda uh, here, which is um, only just to print some messages to the std out, and therefore it will be printed to CloudWatch logs. And at the same time, we have the basic assume policy that the policy document that we are going to use with the execution role for the Lambda function. So I'm assuming that there is quite a background about the Lambda generally. So I would say that the Lambda will always execute under a certain role, and this role is called an execution role. And from this role, the Lambda itself will be able to access other services. So let's say if you want to read to access S3 bucket, then the Lambda execution role needs to have access in its execution role to access the S3 bucket. But in our scenario, we're only having an empty um, role with only like the assume role, so the Lambda will be able to assume the roles in its generally in the account itself. But we are not going to use any specific permissions here to access any resources, as we are only going to print the logs. Other than that, we are going to use the GNU Makefile, as I mentioned. So if you look back again here, it's only the Lambda, and the Lambda, we have the main file, and then we're just having this file in order to be used with the AWS CLI to create the role, or actually the execution role, which is a mandatory um, requirement for running a new Lambda function. So each Lambda function should have its own, should have an execution role attached to it. So what we can do here is we can start with the Makefile. And the Makefile is just very basic file. Before that, let me like go through the scenario for the build. So the build, we have a build bucket. I created this bucket and called it codified builds. And then we have the AWS arguments that will be added to the command, which is region, US East 1, and then the profile, in case you have a specific profile that you need to run the build against. So for me, it's only the default, although defining the default here is unnecessary because default is the default profile if there is no profile specified in the arguments. And then we can also simplify this by saying we have an AWS CMD file command line binary, which is AWS, and also to zip the packages, we have the zip file. And then we will define the targets. So basically we have all, and in all we have, like we are just creating names here. So this is like I'm assuming there's a dependency on a file called dot underscore lambda. So if this dependency is met, Makefile or make doesn't need to do anything to this to this target in this once this target is called. And once this file is missing, this like it needs to go through the builds and just run through all the dependencies to run and execute all the needed commands for this. Other than that, we have the other target for just cleaning uh, the build itself. So basically, we'll have the remove files underscore anything, because if we have more than one file, we can specify that. But in my case, we can just say it's only lambda, and we know it's only lambda. But let's do this. And other than that, we need to specify the dot underscore as a target itself. So if we have more than one folder, as we mentioned, we can go through zip, and this like um, this percentage dot zip is the actual file which we expect to have. And if it's not there, Make will go and try to find if there is a target with this name, because as like generally speaking, this is not like a session about Make. Make is really a huge tool. It's everywhere in Linux and supported by also by Windows as well. But this is by all means is not like a dedicated session, even like scratching the surface for Make. But I'm trying just to give an idea here. Just the this part is the like the prerequisites for this target. So the first part, which is the target, and the other one, the next one, this one, the highlighted one with the percentage dot zip, is the actual prerequisite. So in this case, I need to go here and just define the dot zip with percentage. So I will give that name here and then use the same zip cmd as specified above. And yeah, I will use the JQR. So J just for the junk files, meaning that all the files within these directories will be on the same level. So as you know, in Lambda, you don't need to zip the directory, because if you zip the directory, Lambda will not be able to access the handler. So what you need to do here is just to compress the files itself, the executables. So the Lambda, once it tries to decompress the files or unzip the files, it will be able to find the handler directly. And then the Q, which is for quiet mode, and then for the R is the recursive. And then we have some automatic variables, which is defined uh, by the GNU Make. The first one is the $@ which means that this is the target. So the target, as we mentioned, is the one on the left here. The one on the left is the target, which is percentage.zip. So copy this, zip the files here in this path in the prerequisites. So, oops. This is the prerequisites. So in the prerequisites, we will have the files or the name of the folder, Lambda, and within the Lambda, we'll be able to list the files and zip them into this file, which is $@, which means this is the target, which means here is the percentage and then zip. This is what we are after. So this is actually, like, if I want to explain this here, yeah. Like we could say it's $.zip equals the $@. And at the same time, um, the other one, which is the percentage here, which is the name of the zip file, equals to the prerequisites, which is $@ here. So this will be like the last target that we are going to call. And before that, we have the zip here. And from here, we can use the AWS command as specified above, which is AWS CMD. And then we can define also the AWS args, the arguments. And as you can see, I added the space here. And here the space is not needed, so I'm just attaching the double dash here in the same line. And then S3 copy. And then what we are going to copy here is the prerequisite. Like here the prerequisites. So we are going to copy this file, and what would be the destination here is simply the S3 and then $sign S3 S3 build bucket. Yeah, just to make sure that this is the end of the bucket. And yeah, after that I just need to copy the file as the target, like from the dependency, or actually from the prerequisite, which is %.zip, to the underscore dot, which will meet the at the end the dot here lambda, because we have the folder name as lambda. So here we just need to add $sign, and yeah, hope that works. So here again we'll have the files and we have the Makefile. So hopefully before that I just need to check and see. We have the codified builds, the same bucket that we specified, and we can say recursive just to go through every directory if there is any. Nothing is there. So let's try here and see if this will work for the first time. Make. Okay, so mixed implicit and static pattern rules stop. Let's go back and see at line 11. I think, oh, my mistake here, shouldn't be any columns, because the column should be only defined between the target and the prerequisites or dependency. So again, like the all will be the first target that will be used. It will look for dot underscore lambda for the first time. It won't find it. It will go to do dot underscore percentage, and then it will find there is a dependency for a zip file. It will go to zip before executing this and the percentage, and then create the zip file, and once this met will go again and to execute the files, and then rename it to dot lambda. So yeah, now it should hopefully work. Now we are uploading, all good, seems we're there. What we can do here is ls3 codified builds and then recursive, and here we go. We have the lambda function now zipped and everything is cool. Just going back through the directory and see what happened here. If you look at the tree, we have the files here, but there is something missing, the hidden file that we had. So this is actually the hidden file, which is the zip file that we created. If we try to run make, nothing to be done for all, because we already have the dot lambda, nothing has changed. So what we can do, just to show you what we can see for this file and what happens there, is I'm just trying to here to list the contents of the zip file without extracting the file. So we have the main file, the same one that as we had before for the script, and it's the only file that was zipped. So as you can see, there is no directories, nothing was created there. So this is what we actually need, and this is what we are after. So once the Lambda tries to unzip, it should see this file in this way, main.py. So now the other part, which is creating the execution role. So basically, we can go and see, just this is a very simple execution role, just for the purpose of simplicity here. Assume role only, nothing else. And from here, we'll be able to generate to create the role with this execution role, and then it will be attached to the Lambda function. So we can do here, you go IAM, and there is create role, and as you can see, there is an autocomplete for the AWS. I will add the link for installing the autocomplete tool in the description. And here we can add the role name, and let's call it uh, lambda pi role. And from here we also can add the assume role policy document, which can be specified here as this file. Okay, so just going back to this again, AWS IAM, the service name, and then the action, create the role, and this is the role of the name, and then the assume role policy document, and then the file in this format, which is required by the AWS CLI tool. So cool. This is the results. As you can see, there is paging configured for the AWS CLI. You can disable this if you want. But like just to explain here the result, this is the role, and this is what I'm interested in, which is the ARN of the role. So I mean, I can take this now, just copy and paste, that's fine. But let's go and see if we can list the roles here. IAM role, list roles, and yeah, and if you remember from the previous episode, we explained the query, and for the same results, we are going to use roles, and then just show me the RN, and then yeah, I just want to see the RN, and it would be easier to see the output as text, and then maybe grep lambda pi, which was the name of the role. Okay, and this is what we are after. So this is like just trying to go over what we used in our last episode, which is using the query. And from the query now we are just trying to get the ARN from the results. So not all the results for all the roles. So going back to this, now I believe we can use the AWS CLI to find the zip file in the S3 bucket and then use the same execution role that we have. So just to clean this a bit, the autocomplete tool is a nice tool here. Create function, and then let's do the function name, and let us call it the codified lambda demo, and then another line, and from here I need to specify the runtime, and then I would say it's 3.8 lambda, and then for the handler, if you remember, we have the main file, and then we called it handler. So this is like the first part is the file name, and then this is the main function name. So usually like this is the convention in AWS, mainly it's being called handler. If you created a new Lambda, you will see this name. But it's up to you. I mean, if you want to call it handler or anything else, it's the same thing. And then after that, we should add the role, and the role basically is the ARN that we had. And after that, we should add the code. And our code is not like part. It's not like a script that we are going to add from our local system. This is one thing, or is not something that we need to capture from stdn or anything else. So basically it's in S3 bucket. So what we can do is we can use this convention for configuring that through the command line, the CLI. So just the S3 bucket, and then we should define the S3 key. Okay, and in the S3 bucket is clearly the codified build, and in S3 key is the lambda.zip. And this is actually matching what we are trying to use in the S3 bucket. So the codified build and then the S3 key. And if you have like multiple prefixes, you can just put them here in the same line. So hopefully this will work. And there's something invalid. The I believe there is a typo here. Builds, it's builds is not build. Yep. So try again. Cool. So yeah, this is it. Like we have the Lambda. Now it's uploaded and it has its own ARN. And yeah, this like it's successful and the package type is zip. So yeah, I mean, if we like, we can invoke the Lambda from here just for the sake of testing. But actually, I believe this can be done in the next episode because I'm going to explain how we can capture the logs without having to access the CloudWatch logs and to see the results. It's purely from the command line. So yeah, I mean, this is, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want, we can also verify the results from here. We can go to AWS Lambda, US East 1, and this is our Lambda function. And for the test, simply demo, invoke, and we should see the results here. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.